All right, everybody, stocks by the numbers. Welcome back. Wanted to talk about a company out of Canada. This is a highly speculative situation. Let the record show that. But we're talking about a company that could potentially be involved in a bunch of segments across the board. We're talking about biotechs. We're talking about, they mentioned supercapacitors. They're talking about how it's more efficient in things like cement. I mean, we're talking something across the board that can potentially be game changing. However, this is a company, again, right now, HG, Hydrograph Clean Power Incorporated, here on the CSE, the Canadian Stock Exchange, up to 16 cents a share, new 52-week highs, gaining some momentum here in the last couple of months, especially since about March. And we can see the stock closed up 6 2/3% here at these highs. But here on the OTC market for us here in the States, we are looking at HGCPF, and we can see 11.44 cents hit a high of 11.73 cents. So we're seeing this momentum come back into this company. However, again, this is an OTC stock, over-the-counter markets. This basically means the company can consistently reverse stock split, issue new shares. The company could go out of business, stock could go to zero. Please understand the risks involved. We are talking about a highly speculative situation. That being said, a lot of the news that has been coming out on this company over the last couple of weeks, the last couple of months, does seem pretty positive in my eyes. And we could potentially be seeing this momentum with volume coming back into the stock after it pulled back here, went public looking like February of 2022. And we can see some volume coming back into the stock, and we're gaining some momentum going back to these highs. And I think it's because people are potentially speculating about new contracts that are now going to come in after these positive tests and whatnot. So first of all, right off the bat, about a week ago, we see this: Hydrograph to supply pristine graphene to Wolfpack Energy for solar power battery storage. And basically, we have a decent sized market here. Global supercapacitor market estimated at 4 billion here in 23, expected to reach 12 billion by 2032. So this company makes almost 100% pure graphene, and apparently, as we see, it is much more effective than some other materials used. And basically, Wolfpack's engineers determined that it outperformed materials traditionally used in supercapacitors, such as activated carbon, by 4 times. That is huge. Quote, Hydrograph's fractal graphene has shown significantly higher results than leading alternatives. While the team at Hydrograph has been incredibly supportive, of course, the company plans to use this technology to create a hybrid battery system that will reduce the cost of solar energy storage. And if you recall, this is basically the main negative that comes with a lot of these battery companies, EV companies, solar companies, right? We talk about how it could be viewed as almost ineffective because of how expensive it is. So if we can get, better performance here by 4x, while at the same time we're reducing the cost, this is what I mean. This could be a potential game changer. And again, we're just talking about supercapacitors and solar energy storage right now for the time being. FGA1, that's the graphene, again, flagship graphene product, FGA1, has already shown great performance in other energy storage applications, such as in lead-acid battery electrode additives and lithium-air LiO2 battery cathode materials. This new application of fractal graphene as an electrode material for supercapacitors for the adoption of renewable energy fits our theme of sustainability, of course. Hydrograph is the third company to be certified globally by the Graphene Council and sustainably produces the world's purest graphene at 99.8% carbon. Hydrograph's graphene production process is believed to be the most environmentally friendly globally, requiring only oxygen, acetylene, and a spark. The result is graphene and hydrogen. No carbon needs to be mined, and no hazardous byproducts or greenhouse gases are created. Hyperion system, patented, of course, modular, portable, and able to produce over 10 tons of graphene per year. Quote, our performance improvements within energy storage devices continues to be a key area of growth for the company. Results we have seen within the past few months alone show a clear path to expediting the path to commercialization for our patented pristine graphene. So it seems like, again, we're talking about a potential game changer here in my eyes. Now, again, that's if, the company doesn't go out of business and all that stuff. But, we have seen insane success stories come out of the OTC. A lot of people don't know that a powerhouse in the beverage industry, a company called Monster, originally started on the OTC, the over-the-counter markets. So now imagine if you went in heavy, continued to build a position before the company got listed on a major exchange and started growing like an animal, and then all of a sudden you got funds stepping in, taking positions in the stock, and obviously on and on and on and upward. But we can see here, Khalifa University's North American-based Hydrograph Clean Power signed MOU to collaborate on research projects and expedite commercialization. This is what I mean. It seems like we're underway. We are now getting the ball rolling. People are reaching out, looking for this pure graphene, because apparently they're the best to do it, and also, more importantly, is a company out of Canada, right? So this is a major, almost 100% pure graphene producer out of the Americas here domestically. And we've spoken about what can be taking place overseas in the years to come. So that's why a situation like this, if it is more effective than every other material used, and it will also reduce costs, and also, like they said, it's very environmentally friendly, right? They don't have to, mine carbon for it or anything like that. So if this is truly a game-changing situation, and it's based here in the Americas, and they're the best of the best, then in my opinion, we can seriously be looking at a potential game-changing stock over the longer term. We are delighted to establish collaboration, Hydrograph, driving cutting-edge research. We aim to achieve breakthroughs that will have positive impact various sectors. Yeah, but see, it says here also to identify and develop applications that accelerate the use of graphene in various markets, including, look at this, cement, concrete, lubricants, energy storage, composites. I mean, we're talking a lot of sectors where this 99.8% pure graphene could potentially be utilized in. And we could also be talking about reducing costs while, again, being very green about it. Establishing ourselves in a high-growth region. Target markets of lubricants, composites, concrete, heavily represented, and with a government which supports non-material innovation. Yep. Everything's great. Operate on research. Also creates opportunities. I just want to go over some of this news so you have just kind of a background understanding of what's been coming out on this company, what's being reported over the last couple of months since we started to gain this momentum. Again, only 5 certified graphene manufacturers in the world, and this one's based out of the Americas, again, with the most pure graphene out of all of these companies. Keep that in mind. Today announced positive test results. This is from the middle of February. Announced positive test results from its research in combining its proprietary graphene with polyethylene terephthalate, the plastic resin commonly used to make water and soda bottles, clamshell food packaging, and clothing fibers, improves plastics performance and could reduce material in plastic bottles by 10 to 15%. So again, it sounds right out of the gate with the company not generating any revenue, and of course, looks like they're losing about $1 million and change a quarter. Of course, in the moment, in this build-up phase, it seems just like a hole, right? Where we can't really identify where the bottom could be. Plus, we're also discussing the company today with it trading at 52-week highs. So we know it could start chunking down a couple of cents and we can immediately be down, 30% in change real quick. But if we look at the big long-term picture here, this is what I mean. This is why I'm saying we could potentially be dealing with a real game changer here. Cement, plastic bottles, solar energy storage. Many major corporations have committed to decreasing the use of disposable plastics in their products. Global economy face challenges in completely eliminating plastic, right? Innovate methods to improve the lifespan. Testing was done to assess if Hydrograph's 99.8% pure carbon content fractal graphene, crazy, almost 100% pure, would enhance the mechanical properties of PET. Increase in elasticity of 22% at 0.5% graphene weight, increased strength at breaking by 114%, and increased strength at yield of 13 to 15%. Quote, right now we're looking at a potential 10 to 15% reduction in material for bottles. Our next steps will be to prove other benefits like recyclability and barrier properties. Going to explore if our graphene will boost the strength of recycled material, which would let manufacturers reuse a higher percentage of recycled PET in the material mix. By having 10 to 15% less material in the bottles, manufacturer will also save on energy from not having to heat and cool the materials. The savings there are considerable. Agreed. This is true. From China, average 1,000 per ton. It takes about 20-25 grams to make one 500 milliliter bottle at a cost of 1 cent each. U.S. produces 50 billion bottles just for water annually at the cost of 500 million in imported PET pellets. With graphene reducing PET usage by 15%, the total savings would be $75 million. And again, this is just water bottles. We're not talking about all bottles. We're just talking about water bottles. We can potentially save here in the States roughly 75 million. So based off of this whole, climate change, global warming, gotta go green situation that they kind of just pushed on everybody, then this should technically align with everything that they're looking for, right? And again, this is technically a domestic company for the most part, right up to our neighbors in the north in Canada. The global PET market is a huge opportunity for us, of course. And again, if for any reason any tensions rise overseas in the Asia-Pacific region, then of course having, again, like I said, a domestic producer of materials like this, where we don't have to completely rely on these materials coming from China, then, technically would be an interesting opportunity for us. Quote, international annual production is approximately 87 million tons. Based on these results, we project having a 1% penetration amounting to $174 million. Testing was done at the Graphene Engineering Innovation Center at the University of Manchester, specializes in the rapid development and scale-up of graphene, other 2D material applications. Hydrograph has been regularly featured as a key component, Greater Manchester's $200 million investment zone. Hydrograph's graphene is produced using its patented hyperion, right? We are pleased to have collaborated. Yep. Leading vision, instrumental. Can you scale up? As Hydrograph continues to scale up this process and pursue FDA approval, okay? So, not to get ahead of ourselves, but it sounds as though I'm not seeing a real issue as to why they wouldn't get FDA approval, which, of course, on that announcement, in my opinion, would absolutely skyrocket the stock. You might see a situation where it goes from, 12, 13 cents, slowly gets up to these highs, and then boom, all of a sudden the announcement comes in, this freaking stock's at like 110, 135 or something crazy like that. I do believe it is possible, because what people are going to then speculate is that because it got FDA approval, now American contracts are going to start flowing into it. We are confident that this again demonstrates the potential for graphene in enhancing a range of applications. Global graphene market was valued at $337 million in 22, projected to grow to $2.95 billion by 2030. Seems like, again, the company just started rallying, volume came into it, now the stock's at highs, and of course, again, it is an OTC stock. Very, very speculative. So anything can happen. But I just wanted to speak about the company and just bring it to your attention and just let you know what some of the news has been over the last couple of months. And again, it is a massive prediction and it is extremely risky. But again, this is why I say, hopefully, in my opinion, the bulk of your capital should be in solid funds, bond yield, bond funds, bonds in general, municipal bonds also, try tax exempt if you're a resident there. Spread it out among some blue chip stocks. Have maybe some up and coming nice small cap growers that are looking good. Like we speak about SoundHound AI a lot on this channel. In my opinion, I think that's going to be a nice long-term grower, starting out from kind of its state of infancy here over the early years. I can appreciate if you are interested in a situation like Hydrograph here. But again, in my opinion, if we're talking about technically like investing the right way and protecting your capital, you guys really should be diversified. This should be a small amount of your capital potentially going into Hydrograph. But again, that's just my opinion. If you're all in and you're looking 5 years down the road, then of course, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I hope it does become a game changer for you if you are heavily involved. So hopefully, all this short-term stress does turn into, long-term positivity for you. But letter to its stakeholders. Built out repeatable graphene production unit, making Hydrograph the only company with the ability to economically scale up to market demand. Interesting. Commercialized pipeline. We are now working with more than 50 customers on 20 different applications with 23 testing agreements and NDAs signed, up from less than a dozen customers at the start of 23. So we went from less than a dozen to more than 50. 20 customers are taking enough graphene for testing in their end products. R&D. Showing a hyperion graphene uniquely provides step change improvements in billion-dollar markets, including in lubricants, 70% lower coefficient of friction, 80% reduction in mechanical wear, and 24 times longer life. Are you kidding me? Resins, 8 orders of magnitude increase in electrical conductivity and 14% increase in thermal conductivity. EMI shielding, proven to meet consumer, aerospace, and automotive requirements. Raised over $3 million. I don't know, man. Again, in my opinion, I mean, we could, of course, make the argument that, hey, listen, it's an OTC stock, it's highly speculative, could sound too good to be true, anything can happen, you shouldn't buy here at the highs. I can appreciate that. However, I feel like we have a lot of decent evidence and a lot of studies and a lot of data to go off of that are showing us that, again, we could potentially have a material that is just, they got it down almost 100% pure, 99.8% pure. So maybe that's the game changer. And if they truly have that proprietary technology in the hyperion, then again, they will, in my eyes, almost immediately, overnight, could potentially become the game-changing leader in the space. And now, because they have produced a higher grade material, they have now set the standard, right? They have now set the standard. So hopefully if this gets up and running and contracts start coming in, it's going to get to the point where anyone looking at other graphene producers, if they're not anywhere near, which it sounds like they're not, in my opinion, if they're not anywhere near what Hydrograph is able to produce, then they're going to be an afterthought. And this is going to be the company to own, in my opinion. So we have a lot of potential contracts. We have positive data coming out of these studies. We have potential FDA approval looming. I like it, in my opinion. I like it. And again, we know it's speculative, it's OTC. So if the stock goes from, 12 cents back down to 6 cents, can't say you weren't warned, right? But again, the long-term picture does look extremely enticing, in my opinion. Flagship graphene product, FGA1, this is from right after the ball dropped, has been successfully trialed in Hawkeye Bio's biomedical sensor aimed at the early detection of lung cancer. Look at this. So now we're in biomedical sensors as well. Cement, lubricants, plastics, biomed. Are you kidding me? The global biosensor market is expected to reach $60 billion by 2032. Hydrograph's Graphene, the third company to be certified globally by the Graphene Council, was selected by Hawkeye based on the purity and consistency of its graphene. So again, if they have the proprietary technology to produce the best of the best, no questions asked, then in my opinion, anywhere it could be used, anywhere they can show that it can make a massive difference, like some of that data we looked at before, I mean, it really did seem like it was much more effective. So if they can continue to showcase that, then in my opinion, the contract should start flowing in. Should start flowing in my opinion. Detects the activity of enzymes as opposed to quantity of enzymes, enabling improved detection of chronic inflammatory diseases such as cancer or autoimmunity. The sensor also improves the patient experience by using non-invasive biological samples such as blood, urine, saliva, or exhaled breath. Wow, interesting. In early stage lung cancer testing. Hawkeye leverages Hydrograph's pristine graphene to manufacture pharmaceutical-grade biosensors for the detection of lung cancer from a standard blood draw. Hydrograph's manufacturing process reproducibly yields the 99.8% high purity and consistent geometry required for Hawkeye's ultra-sensitive diagnostic tests. Graphene biosensors' optimal signal-to-noise performance allows Hawkeye's blood test to pick up lung cancer in very early stage asymptomatic individuals. Are you kidding me? Are you hearing this? The ones who can benefit the most from curative treatment. So obviously, I'll go out on a limb and I'll say this Hawkeye company sounds pretty interesting as well. But also, it is the pristine graphene from Hydrograph that is now making this feasible as well, right? So we need top grade materials to go into the actual sensor, product, other material, whatever it is, right? Cement, lubricants. We need the highest grade building material to develop the best product at the end of the line. So again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but this is something that I kind of saw just kind of skimming through some stocks. And again, HG on the Canadian Stock Exchange and HGCPF here in the States on the OTC, the over-the-counter markets. Now, in a lot of accounts also, if you're a very, very small investor, and we're talking about, you have like $500, $1,000 in your account, and you're just kind of taking some small positions. Again, depending on your income and if you could afford this risk, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it, but I just want to give you a heads up that for a lot of you smaller guys in a lot of our brokerage accounts, trading accounts in the States, sometimes, most of the time actually, the OTC purchase has to be at least $100. Just throwing that out there, because again, there might be someone watching who has, a couple of $100. We have to try to appeal to everybody. Obviously, if you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, I would say, in my opinion, it sounds good, but again, anything can happen. We just started running to new highs, so I wouldn't overextend myself, but this is definitely something that, in my opinion, you should definitely keep an eye on. Great example of how Hydrograph's graphene's unique structure, purity, and consistency adds value beyond other graphene products in the market. Quote, after several years of working together with Hawkeye, we have developed a strong partnership and are thrilled that our graphene helped bring their biosensor to market to save lives. EMI shielding results surpassed thresholds for consumer, automotive, and aerospace applications. Let's go. Epoxy res was able to achieve reaching 80 decibel, shielded and clear less than 1 millimeter thick. Minimum ratings for consumer protections are 30 decibel and ranges from 60 to 80 for automotive and aerospace applications. Okay, so yep, above thresholds or at the top of the range at least for automotive and aerospace, it looks like. Obtained with graphene engineering, hydrograph spanning application. Quote, our work in EMI shielding started with our partnership with EPM Shielding after they announced their plan to build a $1.9 billion semiconductor facility. These results in EMI shielding exceeded our expectations. Quote, we believe we have a path to reach military applications that require 100 decibels to 120, which would open an enormous market for hydrograph. Really? EMI shielding used to reject electronics from unwanted signals. Yep. GPS. Shielding accomplished insulating sensitive electronics with conductive enclosures. Graphene, a nanomaterial, does not compete with the current standards of conductive materials used for these enclosures, but further improves performance by enhancing them. This shielding effect used in electronics, medical equipment, military equipment, automotive. 200 million investment. A key player in the graphene industry, supposedly. And we are talking about good growth here, right? Because we're talking like a 7-8 year span from 22 to 30, right? But at the same time, going from 337 million up to almost 3 billion. I mean, we're talking about like a 9x over the course of 8 years. So the fact that the market is expected to grow, the fact that it could be used in almost every product, it sounds like, across the board for the most part, and the fact that they produce the purest of the pure out there, and the fact that they're about to get potentially get FDA approval, and the fact that it's a domestic company here in the Americas, this is why, in my opinion, I really thought it was worth bringing to your guys' attention. EMI shielding market will be worth $9.4 billion by 2028. Again, we're talking about the resins here. Testing completed. This goes back to before the ball dropped here. We're talking about 6 months ago. This testing came out. And again, see, now this is what I mean. Now the positive news keeps coming out, so now the stock's starting to gain momentum. But it's basically because of the positive data, people are now piling in, speculating, like I said. Hopefully they're going to get FDA approval. Hopefully they're going to keep getting positive results from these tests, and they're going to blow everyone away, and they're going to outperform all the other materials on the market. And like we saw with Hawkeye with their biosensor, it's just too pure. It's just the best of the best. It greatly enhanced our sensor. This is what I mean. This is why, as this all slowly keeps going and potentially snowballing, then the contracts are going to start pouring in. The deals are going to be signed. It definitely is possible. It definitely is possible. But again, let the record show we are talking about a stock that is pennies. And we are talking about a company on the OTC, the over-the-counter market. We are discussing a very speculative situation. However, based on a lot of those news articles that we just looked at together, I would say, in my opinion, it might be worth taking a shot. That's just me personally. But it might be worth taking a shot with Hydrograph Clean Power Incorporated. And I'm going to end it there. As more news develops, I'll try to keep an eye on this stock as well. If you guys, if you've been watching it, or if you've been holding, adding to the position, if you're hearing some rumblings about things that could potentially be taking place, of course, let everyone know down in the comments section below. And that's pretty much it. So once again, Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you guys for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually very quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, they're very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good day, guys.